Hello, everybody. I'm Jesse Waters, along with Kimberly Guilfoyle, Juan Williams, Dana Perino, and Greg Gutfeld. It's 9 o'clock in New York City, and this is The Five. We begin tonight with a disturbing and dangerous trend from President Trump's opponents, questioning the mental fitness of our commander-in-chief. President Trump did nothing to hide his brash style during his raucous campaign rallies, and he still won a clear victory in the Electoral College over Hillary Clinton. But that hasn't stopped his opposition from hurling accusations against the president that are outside the bounds of common political discourse.
I think that President Trump's his antics, his theater, his entertaining personality, his erratic behavior should be of concern to anyone who has dedicated themselves to the preservation of our democracy and our national security.
In discussions among friends and family and debates on social media, people are questioning the president's fitness.
I really question his ability to, his fitness to be in this office.
I certainly think that there's an issue with the president's capability.
There's actually a growing mountain of evidence that the president has been very erratic, has shown a mental instability.
All right, Greg, so if Trump is crazy, what does that make Hillary? She lost to a crazy person.
It's interesting. Everybody there mentions these generic terms, growing mountain of evidence, his behavior, but they don't mention actual specific facts because there aren't any. But I understand this. Trump is a heavy lift for people. He was a heavy lift for me during the election. What do you call it? The nomination, the campaign. He's rude, he's brash, he's silly, he's childish, but he's also very funny. If you obsessively pay attention to everything he says and believe that he is completely serious the whole time, he is going to drive you crazy. What you're seeing is a collective drug trip that the media is sharing right now. They really do believe they see a horrifying monster. They think they're seeing a monster because they're all high on this emotional belief without the evidence. What I don't understand is that a lot of these reporters and a lot of these commentators have been around. They're as old as I am. So they've seen hysteria and scares before. They have seen Y2K and remember ALAR from the Apples and heavy metal and red meat and reefer, all of these scares. Nothing is ever as bad as they think it is. In fact, it never is. Even people who thought Obama was evil have to admit he wasn't. So what we're going through is another collective scare. I just don't understand how the media doesn't see this, how they don't realize that they're in this weird hysterical bubble. He's not what you think he is. He's not.
Dana, why don't you think the Democrats try the traditional way of removing a president, which is beating him at the ballot box?
With ideas?
With ideas. And Greg said they never go after policy. They just go after him personally.
Well, I guess probably because it's the cheaper shot.
It is, and easier.
It's interesting, if you think back, I guess all of us are maybe guilty since Freud of trying to psychoanalyze other people because we took Psychology 101. So oh, well, then that must be this. And I remember for President Bush, the media used to always want to write stories about how he must have a lot of difficulties and have an inferiority complex because his father was president. And so he would be reluctant sometimes to do interviews with the media because he would say, all they want to do is put me on the couch. And they want to try to play armchair psychiatrist to try to get into my psyche. When he's like, actually, you know what? I believe life begins at conception. It's not some daddy complex that I have. These are just beliefs that I have. And so I do think that this is new. They've crossed a line, I think, with this. And questioning somebody's mental health seems to be really beyond the pale.
It does.
And unnecessary.
You have to admit there were people doing that, to be fair, to Hillary about her health, not her mental health.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
A lot.
So, I mean, we all kind of do it, don't we?
Just you.
Just me. I apologize already.
We're tired of it.
I'm sorry, Kimberly.
KJ.
Yes.
Voters wanted somebody brash. They wanted someone new. They wanted someone to come in here and flip up the table. That's what they got. It just seems like a lot of people have a hard time accepting the will of the people.
Yeah, but I think these are the same people that, in fact, didn't favor a Trump presidency. I think the people that support the president, the true, hardcore, MAGA followers out there, they like what they see.
They're still
They
with him.
love it. It's red meat when he's at these rallies and he's out there and he's doing his thing and he's blaming the media and fake news and saying that he's getting a raw deal from them and he calls them out. They love it. They can't get enough. People that are upset are the people that weren't really truly in favor of him getting into office, that had reservations. So this just sort of plays into their preconceived notions. Okay, they already had this planned, resentment of him baked in before he even walked into the White House. And in terms of the mainstream media, I mean, they never liked him to begin with. I mean, they were saying these kind of things about him before, he took the office while he was running, saying so unfit, this isn't appropriate.
And he was going to drop out all of a sudden.
Right, but
this
nevertheless,
wasn't a real
But he
run.
never wanted
he
it.
beat
Right.
16 other people. And by the way, he's having, a good time in terms of he's being himself. He's saying what he thinks. He's putting it out there like no one can control me. I'm just telling you, psychologically, this is what's going on. He thinks it's fine. When they're talking about, okay, he sent this tweet out about Mika, he's like, well, are they talking about North Korea? No. Are they talking about healthcare not going through? Nope. So that's part of his, throw him off kilter, let him chase, the rabbit outside the yard.
Well, hold on a second now. I mean, I see that warning on the screen there about a hurricane in Texas. I think the hurricane must have swept through here because I know and have seen quotes from Republicans who say, you know what, I don't think he's demonstrated stability.
Well, they don't
That's
like him.
Bob Corker of Tennessee, who was a Trump supporter, Kimberly. And you know what, when people talk about Trump, Greg, they say very specific things. They say narcissism, grandiosity, right? They say that he's impulsive, at times reckless.
But that's actually not evidence. That's a description of a personality.
That's a description. But would you say that
you give me a deed?
Okay, so would you say that it's grandiose to say my inauguration crowd was bigger than any other crowd, despite evidence, pictures
That's not
that
mental
demonstrate
illness.
that, in fact, no, this is
That's
what
bad
he
at math.
obsesses about, is I'm going to prove myself right no matter what the facts may show.
That is part of a brash personality that does that.
I
That
see.
people
That's
find
not a
actually
definition.
funny.
Well,
it's
it might
funny.
be funny, but
it triggers you. It
not
makes
a-
me laugh.
It
not a
might be
definition
funny,
of
but I
mental
don't think
illness.
it's funny to people like Jim Clapper, who is national intelligence, who says it's shocking. You got to question the fitness for office. When he's not the national
So
comedian.
when he's talking about
the
large crowds,
president.
he's insane.
Well,
Right,
no,
again,
he's-
this
that's a
rise
leap.
to the level.
It's quite a
has
leap.
tremendous need to be right about everything, to prove himself right.
So
he
do
calls
I.
it winning. You're going
Am
to
I
get so
insane?
tired of winning.
Well, I think when politicians call other politicians narcissists, I think the irony's lost on
Irony.
Juan.
No, I don't think
Obama
there's much
never had an
irony.
ego, Juan.
Oh,
it was
no,
just
no,
the
no.
Greek
I
columns
say-
and the constant preening
I
in front
think a
of the
lot of
teleprompter.
politicians are psycho. I mean, I live with them,
So
but
are
I'm just
TV
telling
people.
you. But this is
Absolutely.
This
I
is
mean, seriously.
narcissism. This is grandiosity. And guess what?
So are
You
TV
say-
people.
You say, oh, it's just people who don't like him. Well, guess what? 55% in a Morning Consult poll said Trump is not stable.
Yeah.
Juan, can I just...
Good.
Stable, conventional politicians
Right.
have gotten us trillion dollars into debt, open borders, and stagnant wages. So that's why Donald Trump was elected. Let's talk about the politics of maybe overreaching. David Axelrod, President Obama's chief strategist, had this to say.
If people get a sense that there's some extraordinary measure that's going to be taken to affect what they would view as a bloodless coup. Remember, a third of the country supports this president. That's a very dangerous road to go down. And if you ever did go down that road, you're opening a Pandora's box that will never end.
So do you think he has a point?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a true public servant, someone who's been on the inside and knows. And look, President Obama took a lot of flack from lots of people all around about, his citizenship, his the fact that he was aloof, that he was an only child, and therefore then he must have these harborings of being lonely, and he has to be all alone. I just think that, let's not take Axelrod, for example. Let me take Corker, for example, because what Juan was saying. I actually think sometimes when people say things like that about stability, that it's not about mental health necessarily. It is about the ability to focus on an issue in order to get it done. And I think that the Democrats would probably worry. So imagine if the mantra on Tuesday night's rally in Phoenix was tax reform. Here's my 3 principles. The 3 things I want to get done, and I want every one of you to be on Facebook and Twitter tomorrow. I mean, calling your congressman, and absolute ability to focus. I think that that's where the criticism from the right is coming when they suggest that it's not stable.
That's
Absolutely right. And what you see
But that's
is
not
right.
about mental illness.
No, but you know what? No, he went on to say he hasn't demonstrated the ability to have a comprehensive strategy,
That's
which
what-
is
that's what I'm
you're
saying.
talking about.
Yeah.
Right.
But he also said the business about not demonstrated stability.
I think
But
it could
you
be the same.
realize that what's going on today in Washington is Trump comes out, he has a Twitter storm in the morning, and guess what? He's going after the Senate Majority Leader.
Okay.
He's back on everybody about repeal and replace. And people, and I'm talking about Republicans, are like, why is he attacking us?
Because he's shaking things up. He's doing exactly what he said he was going to do. I'm not saying
Is that going to get your
I'm-
legislative agenda?
Listen,
Would you
Juan,
want him to
but
repeal
you're
and replace
sitting here
Obamacare if he's so
saying that the
ineffective? Don't you
president
like
is
what he's doing?
mentally ill
What?
and insane.
Do I like it?
Why do you, sorry, Kimberly, why do the Democrats want to remove Trump so quickly if he's so ineffective and not getting anything done? Why wouldn't they want to keep him there for 3.5 years?
Yeah, because he actually,
Because maybe you care about America?
there are
Oh, so you want Obamacare repealed and replaced?
No,
Got it.
I don't want it repealed and replaced, but I'm saying
You want tax reform.
someone.
Got it.
Well, yeah, everybody wants to pay less tax, but you know what? You want somebody there who's not screaming fire and fury at a nutbag.
I think this is-
and that worked. Wait.
This
That
is so
actually
ridiculous.
worked.
It
So you're
didn't
going to say
work.
that was an insane, that was an example of insane behavior that worked. Look,
It worked.
you
How did it work?
got to offer proof. So good things have happened in the last 6 months. We go through that list all the time. We have lower regulations. We got the Paris Accords gone. We got lower unemployment. We've got a
Market.
higher stock market. Let's see what else. There's a couple of things I've left off here.
Our border is much more secure.
Less
North Korea-
illegal immigrants coming
Here's the
in.
thing. This is a hysterical event that was a reaction to an election. When something makes you nervous, the uncertainty leads to fear. And so there's a lot of people in this country who are operating from that uncertainty. I would say that everybody that's been in this segment, and including Juan, the uncertainty makes them fearful. But then there's the rest of us who are going, you guys, it's not bad. You're erupting over his words and his mannerisms, but everything over here is all okay. Yeah. Sure he's not exactly the most artful speaker, and he could have done better here and there. But those again are words, and he's not gonna soothe your soul, Juan. He's not gonna do it,
Kimberly,
no matter how hard.
Last word.
You want it.
They're just desperate to try to get him out of office, so they'll lie, they'll cheat, they'll make up something and call him mentally ill, which is disgusting because there's no evidence legally to support that. So these people could just sit in their own stew for the rest of his term because he's not going anywhere, and he's not going to be pulled out of office for being mentally ill because people have like a semantic psychosis over fire and fury that worked. I mean, it's just the most ridiculous thing I've heard.
I would like to sit in my stew. That sounds like fun. No, just sit there.
sounds
And you sit in it, and then you just eat the beef around you. You not only feel warm, but you're enjoying the nutrients.
Like Roselle Green in the bathtub.
Cooking with Gutfeld up next.
Have
But
some-
coming up, more PC madness. You won't believe what the left is up to now. We'll tell you directly ahead.